Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Finally, breaking out the whiteboard again to start taking a look at some early schedule previews as a bit of a teaser for prediction season, which will begin later in June. So guys, we are so excited to be back. We're so excited to be starting this series, doing these schedule previews, but we're doing them a little bit differently than we've done in the past. We are doing these schedule previews based on our way too early top 25 that we created just a few months ago. That list and that set of rankings was never released to you here on the channel for the sole reason and the sole purpose of these schedule previews, because we're going to slowly but surely start working our way backwards throughout this schedule preview series from 25 to 1, so every single day you don't even know what team's going to be next. We wanted to leave you in somewhat of a suspense, and at the end of it we will release our full top 25 kind of all in a collective list so you can see it, but we're going to be doing our top 25 teams. Those are the teams we will be doing schedule previews over. So we're not going to be doing every team, but again, we will be doing every team for prediction season later on in the summer. That's going to begin later on in June. And so as we work through these schedule previews, guys, do keep in mind that we're just taking an early look at the schedule, analyzing some key games, key stretch of games. We're going to give a brief outlook for the team, but it's not going to be very deep analysis, and we're not predicting these games. We are not predicting any of these games. Our official predictions, the Gridiron Expert predictions, will come this summer, starting in June. But what you see here with the FPI, which will be on every schedule preview, those are not our predictions. That is the Football Power Index prediction. So make sure we get that through everybody's head as we progress through 25 videos now for our top 25 teams and their schedules. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look. Let's start with our first top 25 team, the 25th ranked Arizona State Sun Devils. That's who we are starting with here out of the Pac-12. And this is a team, guys, that is so close to, I really feel like, breaking through with Herm Edwards at the helm there. They went 2-2 in 2020. And again, put as much stock into these stats as you want with Arizona State, and really for that matter, every other Pac-12 school. Because if you remember, the Pac-12 kind of screwed the pooch, along with the Big Ten, in the sense of waiting too long to start their season. They weren't sure if they were going to play in COVID or not. It ended up working out somewhat favorably for them, but not as much as it could have had they just started at the beginning with the SEC and the ACC. But Arizona State went 2-2, finished their season with a 70-7 victory over Arizona. Ended up being Kevin Sumlin's last game with the Wildcats. Herm Edwards is now entering year 4, and expectations are very high. People believe that Arizona State can win the Pac-12 South. I believe that Arizona State can win the Pac-12 South. It's a matter of whether they will or not. When you look at the guys coming back, 9 starters back on offense, including their star quarterback, Jaden Daniels. He's going to be one of the best in the conference. Very well could be a top 15 quarterback in the country going in to 2021. This team, guys, through 4 games last year, led the Pac-12 in scoring. They led the Pac-12 in total offense. And when you look at their defense, guys, so many key starters coming back on that side of the ball from a unit that led the Pac-12 in scoring defense. And again, put as much stock into those numbers and those accolades as you want, because again, it was only 4 games, but you can't help but wonder what would these numbers have been, and would those stats have held up had Arizona State played 10 games, 12 games, however many it had been. You can't help but wonder that. But obviously it's very encouraging. Through what was a normal third of the season, they were putting up ridiculous numbers and looking like one of the better teams in the conference, even though they had already lost 2 games. So again, take it all as you will. But before we dive into the schedule, I will say this. I believe the Sun Devils are due for a breakout year. Herm Edwards is 17-13 in his 3 seasons with the Sun Devils. Again, he's entering year 4. Out of those 13 losses that the Sun Devils have suffered, 10 of the 13 have been decided by a touchdown or less. Arizona State has been so close. They haven't been able to get over the hump. They haven't been able to finish games. Blown leads. They haven't been able to handle some defensive problems. Hopefully that will change now in 2021. They're so close to finally breaking through. The question is this year that they do it? When you take a look at the schedule, it lines up very favorably for them to have a legitimate shot at winning the Pac-12 South. And that's really what Sun Devil fans want right now. Do we think they're playoff contenders? Not really. But do we think they can make the Pac-12 championship, contend for a New Year's Six Bowl? Absolutely. You look at the schedule. Opening against Southern Utah, UNLV, at BYU, Colorado. That's your first 4 games there. Really, I think most people believe that Arizona State can and will start 4-0. I'm not holding myself to that right now, but I would say that obviously the BYU-Colorado games are the toughest out of those two. When you look at BYU, we know they're going to take a step back, losing a lot of key starters, namely Zach Wilson, who was just taken 2nd overall to the New York Jets. And then you've got Colorado, who surprised a lot of people in year 1 under Carl Durrell. Arizona State gets to host the Buffaloes this year. And again, home field advantage hopefully will play a bigger role for every team across the country than it did in 2020. So there's a very good chance that Herm Edwards' squad starts 4-0. If they are a top 25 team to begin the season, like we believe they should be, you very well could see a top 15 Arizona State team heading in to UCLA on October 2nd. And this is where the schedule obviously starts to get tough because you're starting conference play. And we know those are the most important games for everybody. Any team that's in a conference, the conference games are the most important. UCLA is a very tough one on October 2nd. Chip Kelly starting to, I feel like, get the Bruins in the right position. Not to necessarily challenge for division titles, but to get to a bowl game. They're getting there. They were much more competitive, much more electric. They seem to be finding their groove last year. The question is, can that momentum carry over? But at the Rose Bowl on October 2nd, that's going to be, to me, the toughest game for Arizona State through 5 games. Trap game for them. Stanford at Utah, nothing too scary there. Utah will bounce back. 2 years ago, they were a playoff contender. 1 win away from making the playoff. Took a minor step back last year. Again, take it as you will. Pac-12 season was kind of shot to begin with. Utah will be a legitimate threat in the South this year, so that's going to be a big game. When you look at the Pac-12 South, really anybody I feel like can win that division. I genuinely do, with the exception of Arizona. Anybody can win that division, but if you're looking for the top 3 contenders, it's Arizona State, Utah, and USC. And that's why those 3 games, among those 3 teams, are going to be such a big deal. I think when Arizona State plays these 2 squads, when USC plays Utah, everything like that, that's going to help really shape that division, that Pac-12 South. When you're looking for key stretches, guys, it's right here. It's October 30th through November 20th. Those 4 games against Washington State, USC, Washington, and Oregon State, to me, is the biggest stretch for Arizona State in 2021. We'll explain why. First, you start with Washington State. They're coming off a bye week. They don't want to have a letdown, obviously. And they certainly don't want to be looking ahead to USC. So the Washington State game comes at an interesting time. Arizona State is rested. They're rested up, which is good. But it comes right before maybe their biggest game of the season, the game that single-handedly could determine the Pac-12 South against what many believe are the top 2 teams. So they can't afford to overlook Washington State, who will have a budding star themselves at quarterback in Jaden DeLora. I think Nick Rolovich somewhat exceeded expectations last year. I think at least when it came to competitiveness, the question is whether or not Washington State can improve their defense. But can't afford to overlook the Cougars. Obviously, USC is the big one, and Arizona State gets to host them. Arizona State gets to host the Trojans. And it should be mentioned, guys, that last year, the Sun Devils were leading USC 24-14 entering the 4th quarter. So they were up by 10 entering the 4th quarter, ultimately lost that game 28-27. So the talent was there. That was just one of those less than a touchdown losses that we mentioned under Herm Edwards where Arizona State couldn't finish. The question is, can they finish this year against the Trojans? They host them down out in the desert. They get to host them this year. We know USC is going to be electric. Keaton Slovis is back at quarterback. Graham Harrell's offense is going to be electrifying. The defense improved. This could be one of the better games of the year within the Pac-12 and one that has major Pac-12 title implications. So that's why that's Fusion is key stretch. Right after that, after USC, whether Arizona State wins that and they're on a high or they lose that and they're hungover, they travel to Washington, who's going to be one of the best teams in the Pac-12 this year. They're a legitimate contender in the North. The Huskies returned just about everybody in year 2 under Jimmy Lake. Remember, Washington should have won the Pac-12 North last year, but they didn't get to go to the Pac-12 championship because of COVID. Washington should have been the Pac-12 championship, not Oregon. So remember that. So the Huskies are legit, and Arizona State has to travel there. And then they play at Oregon State, who, yes, loses a handful of key starters, but Jonathan Smith has this team going in the right direction as well. It is on the road. Last year, Arizona State beat the Beavers 46-33, but I'm circling that 33 number there. The Beavers dropped 33 points on Arizona State. There's no reason to believe they can't do it again. I'm not saying that it's going to be a loss for Arizona State. I'm not saying it's going to be a win for them, but I'm saying they have to watch out for the Beavers because this is a team that is on the rise. They are improving, at least to get to that bowl eligibility mark, which they so desperately want to reach. And they close the season, guys, with Arizona. I'm not worried about that. New head coach in Jed Fish. They're going to go through a lot of growing pains. Arizona State's hosting them. They won 70-7 last year. Do I see a 63-point difference from 2020 to 2021? No, I don't. I'm not, again, marking it down as a win or a loss yet, but I'm not too worried about that. It's this 4-game stretch right here, especially the 2 games against USC and Washington, that are going to be the biggest for the Sun Devils in their quest for reaching the Pac-12 championship game. The FPI, the Football Power Index, has Arizona State going 9-3. Again, this is not our prediction. We did not put those numbers down, but 9-3 might be good enough to get them to the Pac-12 championship, depending on where those losses are. 3 conference losses would be difficult to make the championship game, especially if they have them losing to USC or to Washington. I mean, if it's 3 conference losses, it's going to depend on how Utah and USC and their other Pac-12 South members do. It's going to hinge on that. Now, if they have them losing to a guy like BYU and then 2 other conference losses, it changes everything. 2 conference losses is still feasible to get to that championship game. 3, maybe not so much. But 9-3 for the Sun Devils, even if they don't win the South, a 9-3 mark, a potential bowl win, which would clinch a 10-win season, will continue to show that Herm Edwards has his team trending in the right direction. He still has them playing at a very competitive level, and that's exactly what we expect to happen in 2021. The Sun Devils are legitimate. We believe they are a top 25 team. They're a 25th ranked team in the country entering 2021, and they're absolutely a team you need to watch out for in the Pac-12, because if you don't, they're going to sneak up on you and they're going to surprise you. No doubt about it. So guys, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert. Our first schedule preview of 2021. We've got 24 left to go every single day from now through June, actually, right before prediction season starts. So do not miss it. You don't know which teams are coming next, so all the more reason to come right back here to the channel. As always, guys, make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe. Check out everything down in the description below. Exclusive content down there, our Gridiron Expert podcast, our new website, thegridironexpert.com. So many exclusive offers and exclusive content that you do not want to miss to help you get through this offseason. Go check it out, again, down in the description. And once again, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.